Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. My name is Mike Gibson. I'm the State Assembly member, Assembleista Mike Gibson. I am here today with some of my constituents in the 64th State Assembly District who are suffering. My office continues to receive hundreds of calls each week with heart-wrenching pleas for help. Many of the callers tell us that they have and had no income for over 6 months, and some even longer. These workers are unemployed through no fault of their own and to no fault of the employers. Yet they are here. I truly appreciate, and let me underscore, I truly appreciate our Governor Gavin Newsom for his leadership and the allocation of resources to help solve these problems. I appreciate the EDD director meeting with members of the California State Legislature. I appreciate the hard work of the EDD line staff and managers. But frankly, it's not enough. In a couple weeks, California will open up. But what about these individuals and their families who are remaining in this crisis? These individuals are here today to tell their incredible, heart-wrenching stories that I'm asking you to please listen attentively. These are life stories. These are real individuals who are struggling at this moment in time. It gives me an opportunity to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Collins, who you will hear his story. Mr. Collins.
Hi, good afternoon. How you guys doing? So my story started with EDD. I have several stories, but I'll just do one. One story is basically a friend of mine. We both work in entertainment, industry as for productions, work on sets, what have you. For us, what happened with us? She applied for EDD. No, I'm sorry. She lost. The job ended because in production, jobs go from 1 week, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then they stop. And you go to another show. So she stopped. The show ended. So she was trying to get unemployment, and then go back. The job ended. Then she got unemployment. She applied for unemployment, and she got it. Correct. She got it for maybe 14 weeks. Then ED comes back to her and says she needs to do appeal. So she does the appeal, and this is now we're in appeal. Unknown caller. Now we're in the appeal month where we're waiting. She's waiting for the appeal for maybe at least 4 months for the appeal. So now we're in August. She's waiting for her appeal. Her appeal didn't happen until December. So she gets in the appeal, and then the judge tells her, he does a story and goes through the questions and what have you, and then a month after they tell her she don't qualify. So it's wait a minute, we're all sitting at home, we're not working, so why would you tell her she could, she has to qualify? So I don't know. So from that point on, so my story for that, she hasn't got paid since August of 2020. And here we are now in May of 2021. So she's still sitting at home, and that's what it is. But EDD denied her, and they told her to do another appeal, and she's waiting on that. So that's with that. For me, my story is basically that I got paid in 12 weeks. Okay. And the issue before that, in December, they told me that to go through ID.me. So I created an account for ID.me, and for some reason they just couldn't it wouldn't, you know, I create an account, I call EDD, and they say, okay, great. It's a lot of fraud going on. I get that. It's a lot of fraud going on in California. I get that. So they said, but you know, we want to make sure it's you. I said, well, I only have one ID. Can you guys do a program where you guys maybe call the I don't know, call the DMV and put things together? I don't know what happened. So so DMV, I'm sorry. So I aimed at me. They finally get through. I get paid. I get caught up to like January. Then they come back to me and say, oh, now they say that, you know, since for the past, because I was on a 450 weekly. They go back to me and they say, oh, well, now we're reducing you to 167 because of the fact that I guess the amount of money you made was not the amount. Well, I say, well, I gave you guys my 1099s, and when you guys asked for it, you guys called me. I sent you my 1099s, copies of those, and then you say I get 450. So now they're telling me I owe them $12,000.
You owe them
the back weeks.
So, Mr. Collins, so the EDD is telling you now that you owe them $12,000.
$12,000 from all the back weeks, from the deduction from 450 a week to 167, 250 times maybe 48 weeks comes to $12,000. So now they say I owe them back. So now I'm in an overpayment status now where I can't certify or do anything because they're saying that your account is at a stabilization where you owe us $12,000 and that's where we at. So yeah, I don't know where to go with that, but that's where we at. So I'm stuck here for the past 12 weeks, no payment regarding the $12,000 I owe. So that's basically it. And
well,
let me also say one more thing. Go ahead.
Sure. Please go right ahead.
One more thing I want to say. One thing I did, the people at EDD, one thing the person, she told me, she said, when she asked for my my proof of my income, I gave her my 1099s and she put it into the system. And she said, you know what, I'm quitting here. I said, why are you quitting? She said, because one thing about EDD, we're not communicating. None of the departments are not communicating with each other. And this is what she said. I'm quitting. There's no communication. Every department is in their own lane, doing their own thing. No one's communicating about, hey, we have 60 people here who don't have X, Y, and Z, or we have these people who don't have this. No one's communicating. Everybody's just in the same lane, going down a different highway. It makes sense. So she quit it. So that left me with my $12,000 that I gotta pay back, and that's where we at. So.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Collins, for you sharing your story with us. We do apologize this is happening. We want to try to get you the help as well as so many people who are hurting during this moment. And thank you very much for telling your story. Next, we want to invite up for a few moments to tell her story, and that is Ms. Williams. There you go.
Good afternoon. So my name is Ranisha Williams. As the Assembly member said, I appreciate you for the introduction, sir. And thank you so much for your staff that have been working tirelessly on our behalf. I really appreciate their effort from the bottom of my heart. Without them, my son, my family, we wouldn't have made it through this time. So I really appreciate their hard work and effort. So just so we can lay a preface, because in my opinion, I feel like that a lot of when I hear of EDD on the media or the issues with EDD in any other type of forum, fraud and then an air of laziness is always surrounded the complaints. Now, when the pandemic hit, I was an executive assistant for a leading department store and a server. So I was working 2 jobs, as most Californians do. And I've been a contributing member of society for about 20 years. So working is not an issue for me. And some of the issues that I've encountered with EDD is, number one, the application process. When you apply, you give your employer's information, and the information that I received back was incorrect. They totally disregarded my previous employers and said that they could not contact them. Now, these are major employers. So when I was first awarded an amount, it was double digits on a weekly basis. And the second issue that I've had with EDD is that when you call and speak with someone regarding a solution, you're not given the same information. You can call one representative and they'll tell you to submit a documentation. You submit that documentation, you call to confirm that it has been received. The other representative will tell you that not only you weren't supposed to submit that documentation, but really you need to go this step and we need to see this documentation. So the application process is very confusing. And also with Contact Me ID, the verification, the system, you having to contact a third party to qualify for your unemployment benefits is very stressful, especially when they do not have any human contact customer service available. The Contact ID Me verification, everything is done through your phone. So that in itself is very isolating because I know how to work technology, but what about the constituents that aren't familiar with it? What about the constituents that don't have a high-powered or accurate camera on their phone to send a copy of their ID? Because I do, and my ID was rejected, even though I have everything that I need to, and even though I submitted the correct documentation. And lastly, regarding the way that we are paid, allowing Bank of America to control and have access to our payment funds is very frustrating as well, because I encountered fraud with Bank of America. Someone actually used a debit card when I had mine in my possession at an ATM up north and withdrew all the funds out of my account. I submitted a complaint. I submitted a theft, I forgot the term, but I submitted a claim to Bank of America prepaid, and they denied that claim. Now, how can we deny a claim for someone using my Bank of America debit card, having access to my funds on an ATM? All we have to do is check a couple of resources, utilize the cameras, whatnot at the ATM. They can see that it was not me. So there's many elements that make this process very daunting for constituents and for hardworking Californians that just want to get through the day and pay their bills and pay rent until this pandemic is over.
Ms. Williams, thank you very much. Have you received any resources?
Have I? Yes, sir, I have.
Okay.
But
go right ahead.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to tell you I'm still in the process because my award amount is still incorrect, but I'm in the process of appealing that now.
Thank you very much for your story, for your testimony. We really appreciate it. We may have some questions from the media, from others who have joined us. I want to go to Mr. Lozoya. If you can open up your microphone, Roger. Very good. It is open now. Thank you very much for joining us. Please tell us your story.
Well, I'm a union worker from local 250 pipe fitters and welders. I travel for a living a lot out of the state. I go to New York, Washington, everywhere. There's union. And my problem was this. Somebody stole my identity, broke into my truck, stole my identity and everything. I went to Bank of America, filed a complaint, and I went to EDD. They told me that I was a thief, I was a liar, and they were being disrespectful towards me. And of course, I got mad. I told them, okay. And then they asked me for police report, copy of the bank statements, and I did all that 3 times. I've done that. I send them everything. And I'm a welder, and I'm blessed to have a career that I worked hard to get, and I pay a lot of taxes. And EDD, the only thing they constantly do to me is calling me a liar, that I'm stealing from them. They told me I owe them $69,000. How do I owe $69,000? At the time they were saying that I was claiming it, I was working in-state and out-state. You know, our stuff is seasonal. They'll send me to I work in the refineries and power plants, so all the oils and gases are made. I weld all those pipes. And I had to sell my rig truck, a rig truck that I saved I worked years to save up money to buy a rig truck. A rig truck is a machine on top of a truck with all my tools where I could go weld in the pipeline and make, California and our country, do what we need to do to help people. And I had to sell it for dirt cheap. I bought it for 20,000 and I had to go sell it to keep my mom going because my mom's fighting kidney and breast cancer and she's almost 80 years old. So a lot of my money goes to my mom and I have kids and I'm a single dad. I take care of my kids and I had to sell my truck for $6,000 with all my tools on there just to be able to pay some of the bills to keep my mom going. And more that I try to tell EDD what I'm going through, the more they're calling me a liar. They asked me to provide them copies of the police report. I've done that twice, 3 times. Copies of the bank statements from Bank of America. So Bank of America said they updated their system. So they couldn't find the records of how many times I had to cancel my bank cards over and over. And I was starting my own little business when I'm welding, to try to provide for my mother and provide for my kids who are trying to get scholarships. All my kids, I'm thankful that they're doing good, but I don't have the support. Since I've been off of work, I've had no money come in at all. And they're telling me several times I was stated to me that I was a thief, that I stole $69,000. I go, how in the heck am I going to steal it from you? I'm not good with these phones, speakers, and this is the first time doing a Zoom thing. And it took me a while to get in here with you guys. I don't know none of this stuff. And like that lady said, a lot of us don't have that education to do this, but I'm learning. I'm a welder. I travel nationwide to keep our country going. And I pay a lot of taxes. And I don't know what to do no more. EDD, I lost hope in them because every time I try to deal with them, they're calling me a liar. They're rude. They're disrespectful, very obnoxious. And more that I try to be polite, because if you piss them off, they really ain't going to help you. And they're still, till this day, I've not heard from them. They told me, why was I filing late? To write down a statement why I was filing late. And I stated to them, I have a mother who's elderly, fighting kidney and breast cancer, and I'm in the hospital with her a lot. And at home, taking care of her. And the only thing they told me was, oh, well, what could we do for you? And I'm telling them, I have not received, I even can't even go see when I'm not working, I can't go see my doctors because I can't afford to go to a chiropractor to have my body, because being a welder, our bodies are in pain a lot. We're constantly in different positions, trying to work, trying to weld, trying to do everything. And I can't even go there because I can't afford it. So I don't know really what to do no more. I already sold my rig truck, my tools. I had a 1964 Super Sport Impala that was my brother's, rest in peace. And I try to hold on to that because it's my brother's. I had to sell that for dirt cheap to be able to pay more bills for my mom, for her medical bills, and then pay my bills. I could keep this truck that I have. And that 64 meant the world to me because it was an attachment to my brother. And I'm telling EDD about this. They didn't care. They want me to pay something I did not take from them. I gave them the police reports. I gave them everything they asked. And I don't have nothing else to sell. I'm already about to go. I'm in my union hall right now in the parking lot, about to go in and try to get my 401k out so I can stay afloat. I got kids that need clothes. These are my high school kids. They play on the tennis team. They're above 4.0 students. I don't want them to drop. I got colleges looking at them. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do no more. My retirement is my 410, I'm about to pull that out just to stay afloat. Then after that goes, what else am I supposed to do? Right. I've done everything the right way. I don't know what else to do no more.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Lozoya, for your testimony, for sharing your story. That's why we're here. We want to tell these stories. We want people to understand. My role here is to help amplify this, because I know my team, you've interfaced with everyone on this call, has interfaced with my my team so that we can make the calls and fight on your behalf. And sometimes, you know, we don't have the kind of results that you're looking for coming up. But that's why we will try to amplify your voice in this space, because it's absolutely critical that EDD address these particular issues. And we appreciate each and every one of you for taking this courageous stance to have this conversation. Yes, please go right ahead, Roger.
I'd like to say thank you to your team, because as troubled as I am, your team has been sticking by me, working hard, constantly keeping in touch. I might not hear from you for 2 weeks, but when they do call me, the young man that's helping me a lot, I'm very grateful to your team to actually take me and try to help me. I've never had help in my life. Like I told him before, I don't like to borrow money. I don't like to ask people for help because I don't like owing. And I've always taught my daughters to always fight for what you want. Don't give up, keep going. And that's what I'm trying to do by showing my daughters, you know what, hey, they call you all these names, but you got to move forward. So thank you to your team. I really appreciate you guys a lot.
Well, thank you very much. And they're here to do everything they can to try to tear down these barriers so that the benefits that people need are given to those individuals. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you. We want to open it up for any media to answer any questions or ask any questions of those who have spoken. I know we had some technical difficulties for Ms. Brooks and also Ms. Johnson, who are having a hard time getting in. But we appreciate them for their willingness to step up to the plate and allow their voices and their stories to be heard in this space. So with that, please open the line up and we'll take questions from those media outlets that are joining us. Please feel free to go ahead. Someone has joined us with your question. Says newsroom. Okay, they went mute. Okay. Well, newsroom, go right ahead, please. I see your hand raised.
Hey, Christian, is there anything we have to do for the newsroom to be able to ask any questions or?
For the attendee that is named newsroom, your microphone is unmuted. You may speak whenever you're ready. They may have raised their hand by accident.
Okay. Well, again, we're going to do everything that we can. And again, okay, go right ahead, David. David, feel free. Bad connection, David. Okay. Well, again, I want to say thank you very much for being courageous. Our desire.
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yes, go right ahead, David.
Okay, so I think this is David from Channel 8 News in San Diego. I think your original news release said you were requesting for expanded hours by EDD. Have they responded to that request? Many of my colleagues have asked for these expanded hours so that they can handle the overwhelming amount of calls, not only from our office, but from other offices all across the state. It is imperative that we also have managers also being able to roll up their sleeves and also help in this effort. We have frontline workers who are taking on these cases, but we need more hands on deck. And that's what we're calling for. We're calling for, the EDD office to not only to remain open 7 days a week, but we also want to make sure that managers as well, you have frontline workers who are working, doing everything they can to try to make sure that they respond to the overwhelming amount of requests. But we also need to make sure that managers are also being part of helping and is part of the solution as well. So we're waiting for those kinds of things to take place. And also, one of the things that we also want to point out, that there was a state audit done of the EDD department that revealed a number of different things. We need the recommendations that the state auditor, all of the recommendations that the state auditor has outlined to be fulfilled. We realize that there are some that have in fact been implemented, but not all. And so we want to make sure that all of those recommendations from our state auditor through her audit are in fact adhered to, because we believe that would also help with some of the backlog. Any other additional questions? Great. Again, thank you all for joining us for this press conference today. Again, the word is, and the desire is for us to amplify your voices in hopes that that EDD and others will hear these particular stories, and which is replica of what other people are going through throughout the entire state of California. We absolutely have to do everything that we can to making sure that the people who need this help the most get the help that they're seeking, to put food on the table, clothes on their children's back, and also a roof over their head. So we absolutely need to do that. I think, is there another question from the newsroom? I saw a hand raise, went back mute. So let me just conclude by, again, thank you, everyone. We will continue to work with those who, especially who've given their stories and their testimonies to us today. We'll continue to work and trying to seek the kind of benefits and justice that you deserve. So thank you all very much for joining us.